Laughter, dangerous, laughter, dangerous, laughter, dangerous, laughter.
Danger. The emergency disrupt system is now activated. The option to override detonation procedure has now expired. The ship will automatically destruct in T-minus 1 minute. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the DL, ladies and gentlemen, and the other 72, 73 genders. I am AJ Rice. Remember, on Dangerous Laughter, you have to understand that we believe in the equal distribution of mockery, and we've got a great show for you today. I mean, today's show actually gets into the philosophical DNA for why Dangerous Laughter exists. I've been working on a book, an accompanying book, to go along with this show. It's more of a history book of Dangerous Laughter. And I think you're going to enjoy today's guest for sure. And just remember, we are unfit for polite company, but there is a gentleman coming on today that I'm a huge fan of. I just want to take a moment this month, not that long ago. Our millennial vice president walked into ABC, walked into the set of The View, where the Harpies from ancient Greek mythology host a show where they all sort of came out of the same, Yenta conveyor belt, pain in the ass conveyor belt, walked in there like a gentleman, something I could never do, and acquitted himself on The View with joy, with, although I don't know all the names of all the dingbats on there, with, who is it? The caveman from the Geico commercials. There's a bunch of people on there. Some of you out there will know their names, some of you don't. But he was superb on The View. He was a bullet sponge, and none of them affected him. And he just sort of let them do their thing. Whoopi from the Geico commercials tried to take control. And I saw Anna Navarro, who never shuts the hell up. She was the one that was yapping the most, with all the sort of talking points about kids in cages and the open border, and pretending that the 12 years of Obama and Biden didn't happen. So she was complaining about that. Although, to her credit, a couple months ago, when the U.S. military snatched Maduro in his Nike jumpsuit, she did praise the administration for that. So that brings me to today's guest. Our next dangerous guest is that rare yarmulke-wearing unicorn. He is both Jewish and Hispanic. You imagine this? I mean, the jokes I've got, right? The jokes I'm sure he's got, right? Which means he haggles over his favorite $2 cerveza. He haggles over it. Probably had a piñata at his bar mitzvah, and he affectionately calls himself a Jutino. This will be said from now on. I had Chris Salcedo, who's Catholic, a couple weeks ago. Next time I have a few cervezas with him, I'm going to start calling him that when he makes me pay every time there, Sal. He is the writer-director of the new film Guns N' Moses and author of the book Let My People Laugh. I asked him to come on the show, and he said to me, I would never go on a show that would have him as a guest. Ladies and gentlemen, my favorite Latin Yid, Salvatore Litvak, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, there he is. Sal's in the house. As you can see, Sal, I am dressed today because I'm going to like LSU's homecoming today. So there's the little LSU homecoming going on. Although I didn't go
the
there.
yellow. You know, you gotta make sure people can see you in a crowd.
That's right. That's right. Well, I wanted to wear an outfit that matched your book cover, right? Although I never think that far ahead, but here we are, Sal. So the book, Let My People Laugh, Let My People Laugh, the greatest Jewish jokes of all time. Now, I write anthologies. I've written 3, as you can see behind me here, and they are political satire. You know, and I channel a lot of some of the people and jokes that are in this book. I got to tell you, I grew up on the East Coast. I'm an Irish Catholic Philly guy. And as you know, as Dennis Leary once said, the only difference between Irish guilt and Jewish guilt is whiskey. Whiskey, ladies and gentlemen. And always, never Bushmills. That's a Protestant whiskey. So if you're gonna drink some Irish whiskey, you want to get some Redbreast or some Jameson, or, you know, if you got a little coin to spend, Sal, little Middleton Irish whiskey. So look, we love this book. Here it is. Everybody's got to go get a copy of it. Why did you decide to put this together? It's fun. You know, this is, you know, take it in the John, do a little vignette while you're doing your morning constitutional every day. I mean, I love this book. Why did you decide to put it together the way you did?
I mean, number one, I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. And I'm an inheritor of the Jewish humor tradition. It goes back not hundreds of years, but thousands of years. The Talmud, which is to say our oral tradition that stretches all the way back to Mount Sinai, talks about a great sage named Rabbah almost 2,000 years ago, who would always open his Torah teachings with a joke and records the oral tradition. His students would laugh. So either they were very polite or he was genuinely funny, and I would go with the latter. Jewish history is full of pain and suffering, as well as high points, funerals and weddings and everything in between.
Right.
And we break a glass at a wedding to remember a bit of our sorrow in the midst of our joy, so that in the midst of our sorrow, we'll find some joy as well. And, you know, humor for us is medicine, it's entertainment. There's many of us who collect the jokes. My dad, my grandparents were among them. And so I love telling the jokes, and I thought I'd make a book out of it.
Absolutely. One of the taglines for this show is where we talk about transforming horror into humor.
Yeah.
Right? Horror into humor. People have talked about the definition of comedy over the years being tragedy plus time equals comedy. Tragedy plus time equals comedy. That's one of the themes here. I mean, it absolutely is. And one of the things that I have picked up on, and it's not with every comedian, and I am working on a project where I go back to ancient Greece. So, 500 years before Christ. I don't go as far back as, the Old Testament, although I was desperately searching for some jokes from people like Elijah, and they got close. He gets a little close there for at least my thesis, which is about Western civilization and dangerous laughter and the sort of inquisition of humor, and that, we have a long tradition of cancel culture.
Right.
It doesn't start with Shane Gillis. It doesn't start with Roseanne sending a tweet, right? It doesn't. And that Western civilization, Judeo-Christian, Greco-Roman civilization, is unique in the sense that we have had funny people, some Jewish, some not, some pagan, some not, some Christian, some not, in the whole history of the Western tradition. And, only on very few occasions, and none of the big ones that I've found, do we kill them? Now, we've thrown some in jail. Some had to go into exile. People that were thrown in jail, like Voltaire, who's a satirist, was thrown in jail. There were people that were stripped of their titles, like Lord Byron and Ben Franklin. A lot of people don't think of Ben Franklin as a funny guy, but if they have, they've never read Poor Richard's Almanac.
Exactly.
The most banned book in history is a little book called Huckleberry Finn. And it's been banned across 3 centuries, starting off with the right and now the left. If you follow the trajectory, starts off being banned by the Concord Public Library, and now it's being banned by, the Black Studies departments at BU and Boston College and other places.
AJ,
But,
let me jump in for a second.
Yeah,
I
go
want to
ahead.
talk about that. because my daughter just graduated college in New York, and then my wife and I, my daughter and her brother, drove across the country. We rented a car in New York and drove to LA. We took the northern route. We hit Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, Badlands, all kinds of great stuff. We had a family playlist, and we listened to Huckleberry Finn on Audible, narrated by, of all people, Elijah Wood, who I got to say did an amazing job with all the accents. They didn't wokeify the novel and remove the thousands of references to the N-word.
Sure.
But they told it straight up, and it's such a brilliant book. It's so funny, so sharp, so cutting. Everybody should reread Huck Finn. It's amazing.
Absolutely have to read it. And obviously, Hemingway once said that, all of American literature kind of springs forth from Twain.
Yeah.
And from Huck Finn. That's a famous sort of Hemingway quote. I mean, look, the American people, I mean, we've been around 250 years. The English language obviously predates our existence. There are a lot of places you can go to find dangerous laughter. You can go to Lenny Bruce, or you could go to Aristophanes. You could go to all, and everybody in between. I mean, there were people even during the Dark Ages called the Goliards who were running around telling jokes. They're like former Latin monks that got thrown out of school, and they were basically guys that were doing pub crawls and doing stand-up during the Middle Ages. And then obviously the Enlightenment happens, and you've got Jonathan Swift all the way up to Sal Litvak, which brings me to one guy that I came across in my studies of this, because it's a history of not just comedy, but farce, parody, humor, the grotesque, and other things. I didn't know that much about this guy, and I do have an English literature background, was someone named Heinrich Heine, okay? Who in the piece I'm working on, the book I'm working on, he's the first Jewish satirist that shows up. And I find he's just an amazing person, because he's the guy that I found that was banned, and he had to go into exile in France. He was banned twice separated by 100 years. He had to flee the Prussian states. That's what it was called at the time, the United, Prussian city-states. And he was banned in, the 1830s. And then he's banned again 100 years later. And he's banned 100 years later by the Third Reich. He's banned 100 years later by Hitler, Goering, Goebbels, the whole gang, the whole band, right? Eichmann, the whole gang. The whole gang's there. Ava Braun, Candace Owens, they're all there.
Not a bunch of comedy enthusiasts.
Yes. But the reason he was banned, we talk about censorship, and this is the reason, certain Jewish comics are banned and have been banned. Heinrich Heine has this quote that said, where they burn books, and they were burning his books in 1838 in Germany, where they burn books, they will also ultimately burn people. And Hitler never forgave him for that. So when they took over, his books were the first one banned by the totalitarians in Berlin that overthrew the Weimar Republic. Which brings me to this question. Why do oppressed people laugh? Why do resilient people laugh? And why, I want to know why humor survives sometimes when power falls apart. Because your book is about the history of Jewish comedy. Yes, it comes out of suffering, but it's in that gallows humor that some of the greatest jokes of all time come, right?
Well, of course. The classic is two Jews on a park bench in Berlin, 1938. And, one of them is reading the Yiddish paper. The other one is reading Der Stürmer, the propaganda arm of the Nazi party.
Right.
And so the Jew reading the Yiddish paper says to the other one, how could you read that trash? Says, how could I read this trash? Are you kidding? When I read the Yiddish paper, it says the Jews are being arrested, Jews are being condemned, Jews are being executed. When I read Der Stürmer, it says we own the banks, we own the ships, we own the airplanes. The news is much better.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing, is that when you create a satirist, and you create, I mean, look, there have been some silver spooners, guys that, Lord Byron, although he, his parents were kind of screwed up. He was like a lesser noble, member of the House of Lords. But, it doesn't matter whether it's Oscar Wilde or
Hilarious.
yeah, I mean they come out of the milieu of pain and suffering. It doesn't matter whether it's Jewish, Catholic, or whatever. Now, some of us genetically are predisposed to go in that direction because, the Irish experience, the Jewish experience, and there are others come out of, and this is why guys like Richard Pryor and Dave Chappelle are so funny, is when you come out of that milieu of oppression or, being poor and going through that, comedy becomes a survival mechanism, doesn't it? Does it not?
Yeah, I think for sure that might be where it's born. But I think something you said earlier in your intro, right? You're an equal opportunity mocker, right? I mean,
Sure.
You can't spare anybody. And I think what everybody recognizes about the guy who can find humor in anything is that he's also got that, that 30,000 foot view that maybe other people don't. When you can, to make something funny, you got to see connections and things that other people don't see. And I think those people are dangerous. Funny people are dangerous.
Yep.
Because when you can make connections that other people don't see, you can also see what the wizard is doing behind the curtain. And maybe even get it across in coded language. And of course, the totalitarian regimes hate that.
Right. I mean, look. It's an amazing thing. I mean, you chronicle it all brilliantly. A lot of these jokes in here. And I love your your blurbs on the back. I love those. I've done some of them myself. It's interesting when you talk about cancel culture because of comedy. You talk about different, people that were thrown in jail. Lenny Bruce was thrown in jail, and George Carlin had a Supreme Court decision on the 7 dirty words, right? But one of their contemporaries, I want to play this for you, then we're going to take a break. I just want to get your reaction on this side of the break. Chris, get Rabbi Tuckman ready here. Look, I am a huge fan of Mel Brooks. He's someone that is still alive, right? The 99-year-old man.
And
creating. He's doing Spaceballs too. It's out of control.
Yeah.
I am more of a Woody guy than a Mel guy, but I love them both for different reasons. But Mel, one of my favorite jokes of all time, and I wonder whether he could do this today, is from Robin Hood Men in Tights, where he's playing Rabbi Tuckman and he rolls up to the boys. Chris, let's hit that video.
Whoa, Morris, whoa.
Halt there, friend. You've just entered the territory of Robin Hood and his merry men.
Fagalus?
That's right. And look, as you can see there, that's 19-year-old Dave Chappelle, playing a Chew, playing the parody of the Morgan Freeman character. I mean, look, he's riding around. He gives him a demonstration of circumcision. He's basically a moil, Rabbi Tuckman instead of Friar Tuck. And he does a little demonstration with a carrot. We don't have time for it. But, I mean, I look around, Sal, and you make films. We're going to talk about your latest film in the next segment. I just don't see the pedigreed comedic brain, Jewish or otherwise, like guys like Mel Brooks or Woody Allen, or and there are others. There are people that do quirky stuff like Wes Anderson, and so they do some funny stuff. But I mean, once he's gone, we're losing. And I was talking with another guest about Clint Eastwood, the same thing not long ago. We're losing a national treasure, are we not?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's got to the point where Laurence Olivier used to say, when asked, how could you play a black man, or how could you play an Indian man, how could you play a German man? And he says it's called acting, dear boy. Right. You can just get into the character.
Sure.
And now it's that only a black lesbian woman can play a black lesbian woman. Only paralyzed, paraplegic, amputated, Native American man can play a paralyzed, amputated man. It's ridiculous. People can play parts.
Absolutely.
And the lines are getting blurred all the time. But I do think that there is a movement against all this stuff. I mean, young people who voted for Trump, who are just sick of being branded if they're white, that they're toxic, masculine,
Sure.
white. Like, it's ridiculous. People are, I feel like the pendulum swung so far to the ridiculous that it's coming back a little. I'm not saying it's back all the way. We're still
Right.
living in a ridiculous culture.
Sure.
And I love how there's the Babylon Bee and not the Babylon Bee. You know,
Right.
the things that are satire a year ago are suddenly mainstream news, real news
Right.
this year. I mean, it just seems to me that everything that's happened since COVID was not imaginable before COVID. And it's like year after year after year, the country's gotten more and more ridiculous. But I think that the average American has a lot of common sense and will only put up with the ridiculous for so long.
I agree. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, a lesbian black midget will be hosting this show. I'm getting yanked. You're watching Dangerous Laughter. I am AJ Rice. We're with Sal Litvak. Back on the other side.
I'm spiritually aligned with revolution. I don't see color, unless it's white. Then I see genocide. The Black Lives Matter support group rejected me again, even though I wrote an apology letter to Harriet Tubman. They said my white privilege energy was too aggressive. Can you believe that? Every day I wake up and hate that I was born in America. I even moved to Venezuela for 2 weeks, but Uber Eats didn't work. So I moved back, and now I just sit and meditate on my colonizer shame. I breathe through my white shame. I meditate on how to destroy capitalism while I order everything on Amazon Prime. I have no brain of my own now and believe everything the fake news media feeds me. I am the woking dead.
You should be women, and yet your beards forbid me to interpret that you are so. Someone once said comedy is the art of turning horror into humor. That's the essence of the curse of the bearded lady, laughing in the face of madness before it devours us whole. Nothing in living memory has been funnier or more horrifying than a movement convinced there are 72 genders. Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. The curse of the bearded lady. The curse of the bearded lady.
The trans mafia has wrecked America's sanity. It's Monty Python by way of Mengele. Absurd theater with real victims. I'm not here to conduct a medical examination of the trans mafia. This is a cultural autopsy. If Billy Shakespeare could write tragedies, histories, and comedies, why can't I?
The radicals refuse to surrender their gender-mad stranglehold on America's
Vital institutions. This book will show how we got here, how we fight back, and how the Democratic Party's obsession with mainstreaming the bearded lady will doom it to political extinction.
Stay locked in with the man who slayed the woking dead. This is Dangerous Laughter with AJ Rice on the Publius Media Network.
Back on the DL, I am AJ Rice. This is Dangerous Laughter. Always remember, our job here is to transform horror into humor, which is why we've got Sal Litvak with us today, author of the book, Let My People Laugh. And, you know, look, Sal's like a man of many talents. He's got the Talmudist website. I mean, he's got books. He makes movies. And look, he came out with a movie. I describe it. I always think of like The Power and the Glory and the whiskey priest who just goes around, you know, taking people out in the Graham Greene novel, or the Boondock Saints. Sometimes I talk about this movie that you made, Sal, like that. Like people just snap, right? And I, you know, for years I always said to myself, somebody needs to make a movie where a rabbi just, you know, takes shit into his own hands after something terrible. And look, you made this movie. You are the producer, the writer, and the director, and it's called Guns and Moses. Not Guns and Roses, Guns and Moses, ladies and gentlemen. And tell the audience who's in it, and then we'll throw to a clip here.
You're going to see Mark Feuerstein playing Rabbi Mo. the legendary Christopher Lloyd, Neil McDonough, and Dermot Mulroney, as well as Jake Busey and Alona Tal. Amazing cast, who everybody really committed to the parts. It's not a comedy; it's an edgier seat thriller, though there is humor in it for sure. And we were inspired. I'm the co-writer. I write with my wife. We're a mom and pop shop, and it was, we were looking for a thriller topic, and then there was a murder. There was a shooting at a synagogue in Poway, California. Young man came in with an automatic rifle, killed a woman named Laura Gilbert Kay. Would have killed a lot more people, but the rabbi, an older man, walked courageously and tried to stop him, got his fingers shot off, and then the gun miraculously jammed, or a lot of more people would have got killed. And around that same time, I'm an Orthodox Jew, which is to say a visible Jew. When I go to synagogue on Saturday, I have a black suit, black hat. And we've been aware for some time that the danger to the Jewish community is real. I joined an organization called Magen Am. We're trained, licensed, we carry. We have to pass qualifications that are more difficult than the FBI. And please God, we should never need such skills. But if we do, we won't be a soft target. So these are all the elements that went into the creation of Guns N' Moses.
Awesome. And look, like he said, you're going to see here, we're going to play the trailer. You're going to see some faces that like Christopher Lloyd and others, Dermot Mulroney, right? There's a lot of people you recognize in this. So buckle up. Let's watch the trailer, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
This attack, it's personal to me. This crime against a Jewish community will not go unpunished.
His name is Clay Gibbons. That is a sick joke. And he drives a Matt Green GTI with Nazi insignia.
Get your hands off my son! Your son's a member of a white nationalist hate group.
Dad! It was a rap room! I lost everyone, but I survived.
The question is, are you going to be a sheep or a shepherd?
I told him what I found. Then he was killed. What did you find? Why you want to play detective? Because no one else is. Isn't the killer in custody? The suspect is in custody.
You don't control me, Alan. You controlled you. You blew it.
Are you gonna find who did it and get me out of here? Yes, I am.
When your enemy tells you that he wants you dead, believe him.
There are no words, but there will be deeds.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. You can go now. Tell the audience all the different places they can go now to see this.
The easiest is probably Amazon Prime, also Apple Movies. I think Roku and some other platforms, and YouTube Movies. But the easiest is probably Amazon Prime. And thank God, the word of mouth is great on the movie. People love it. Audiences always love the movie, and they're telling each other about it. Especially the Second Amendment, law enforcement community. They appreciate that, when Hollywood has to take a guy who's never shot before and make him a shooter, he puts 5 tin cans on a fence, he misses the first one, he hits the next 4, and then he's a crack shot. So that's totally unlike the real world. And the firearms training in the movie, when the rabbi's learning, is real. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, sight picture, trigger press, add pressure, let the bang surprise you. It's real world training. And so there's a realism to the movie, and a guy getting in over his head that audiences really appreciate.
Now, you've got a diverse cast ideologically in this movie. I know a little bit. I've talked to Neil McDonough. I interviewed him once, like 10 years ago, on another show at the Washington Times. It was before he was sort of fully embracing who he kind of is now. But I could kind of feel it talking to him where he sort of stood on some things. Christopher Lloyd, I don't really know that much about what he thinks of this or that. I mean, maybe he's out there saying stuff. I don't know. Mulrooney, I kind of know. His sister's a famous Democrat outside of Philadelphia, where I'm from. But you have this group of people, and they're all coming together to make this. What were they like? Did they blend nicely? Was it a nice potpourri of different perspectives on this?
Well, I'll tell you something. Production was very difficult. It was when Hollywood makes a movie like ours, and you'll see it's indistinguishable from a studio movie, that would have cost at least 20, probably more like 30, $40 million. We made it for under 5. And the way we did that was to shoot it in 20 days. And for that to work, and it did, it was because the cast totally committed and trusted what we were doing. And, we just worked long, tough days. There was a lot of action in the movie, and that takes extra time. So we had a wonderful working relationship. But it's worth saying that we conceived and wrote and shot the movie before October 7th. And the world shifted on October 7th.
Right.
It was the worst attack on Jews and murder of Jews since the Holocaust. And the protests against Israel and the Jews began on October 8th before Israel had even begun its response. It never had anything to do with what's going on with the Palestinians and in Gaza. It's like this latent Jew hatred that's been simmering for a long time that was unfashionable after the Holocaust. Now these people just, feel perfectly good and proud shouting it from the rooftops.
Sure.
And so there were some members of the cast. I'm not saying they're anti-Semitic. Obviously, they're not. They knew what movie they were signing up for. But when that climate changed, they didn't want to put themselves out there in a movie that's obviously...
They don't want to promote the film.
Exactly. I mean, the movie's off narrative in the sense that it's pro-Second Amendment, pro-America, pro-Israel. It has nothing to do with Israel. I'm sorry. It's not pro-Israel. It has nothing to do with Israel. Right. But it's certainly pro-Jewish and pro-traditional values. And so these days, either you're coded, woke and flying the rainbow flag, or you're safe. And, so we fell a little bit into that trap. And then if you look, at our numbers, for example, on IMDb, where we have a very average number, 5.4. But if you actually look at it, it's like all 9s and 10s and 1s, right? So a movie like this, it's a very competent thriller. The only reason you give it a 1 is because you can't stand Jews who defend themselves and, use weapons when weapons are used against them. And so we get attacked. I mean, and you see this all the time. Businesses that go off narrative in mainstream America or woke America get swarmed, in Google reviews or Trustpilot reviews, whatever it is, whatever industry you're in, we're seeing this happen.
Right. It's interesting, because obviously a lot of Jewish people in the entertainment business. I always think of Martin Short, Jiminy Glick interviewing Mel Brooks saying, how come there's not more Jews in the entertainment business? And Brooks is like, what are you talking about? That's all there is. It's funny the way things get embraced. I've got to think, and I do have some, sources that there is a tension, I guess, now in Hollywood. Now, you do have some new ownership, like over at Paramount and some other places where, certain types of behavior is just not going to be tolerated. But, I am a big Adrian Brody fan. And, his work in The Pianist was amazing. So I waited to watch this movie, The Brutalist, okay? I waited to watch it. I'd say, you know what? I love Brody. He won another Academy Award for this. Let me watch this. And one of the other reasons I wanted to watch it was it's set in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and in Philly, where I'm from. I'm from Bucks County and Northeast Philly. So I'm like, all right, I'll watch this. And I love Guy Pearce too. And I was, the guy is a professional. He's been around forever. And he was up for an Academy Award for this. He didn't win. Now I watched this movie, and it had all the ingredients to make me want to like this movie. And I think about the way Hollywood embraced this movie. It's a bizarre movie. It's bizarre. Okay. Tells the story of these people that escaped the Holocaust and they come to the United States, and the waspy white people are treating them terrible in Bucks County and all the rest of it. But I think about that movie next to your movie and what you just said, and how the bizarre storytelling of The Brutalist gets embraced. Everyone loves it. There's like there's a sexual assault in it, or at least we think there is. But where your movie is just like a badass vengeance, Jews defending themselves. But you have that flashbulb event October 7th, and Hollywood on cue says, "Well, I don't know about Guns and Moses. I'm going to go embrace this weird thing over here because this is this is more my flavor," right?
It's ridiculous. We even heard during the publicity of the movie that the critic at the New York Times liked the movie. We were going to get the positive review in the New York Times, which for an independent movie means a lot. Wow. And it got killed. It got killed by an editor higher up. So this is not good for the New York Times. So they just didn't review it.
Right.
And look, the movie with our cast, our theatrical footprint, it should have had hundreds of reviews, and it didn't.
Right.
Because that's the price you pay when you're off narrative.
It's just amazing. And look, there are some, you're doing your thing. There are some other places out there, Angel Studios and stuff that Gibson does and stuff that Wahlberg does and some others that, even Clint Eastwood to some degree, although he seems to be impermeable to them. They can't really touch him. He's 96 at this point.
What does he care?
It's an amazing thing. And I was talking about this with another guest. Technology is such now that you can reach an audience. You can find an audience. Look at the way the left has treated Taylor Sheridan's shows.
Yeah.
They trashed Yellowstone. As each season, and then he has created this whole universe of shows. And he's talked about it, about how he gets treated, but the more movies like Guns and Moses, movies that like the Angel Studios movies and others that are out there. Andrew Breitbart, who was a mentor of mine, used to say, we can't just sit around and complain that all the late night hosts are left wing and all these people are left wing, all the Hollywood studios are this way and that. We have to get in the arena and be creators.
Exactly.
Right? And that's why you do what you do. That's why I decided pretty much after the Charlie Kirk assassination and some other things that have gone on here in the supposedly conservative media, to get into the game here with Dangerous Laughter, because Gutfeld can't fight every battle all the time, every way. He can't. And there are others out there, Babylon B and Steven Crowder. We're glad they're out there. We need more.
Exactly.
We need more. We need an army.
Think of it. They have a massive ecosystem, right? They're supporting hundreds of movies and hundreds of comedians and so many late night shows and other comedy shows. The work infrastructure is massive. Our side has just got nothing but space.
I agree.
There's room for everybody that wants to get involved.
I agree. So listen, we're going to take a break here. Come back on the other side. I got some fun stuff I want to run by you about comedy, about Dangerous Laughter. Look, we're talking to Sal Litvak, his movie, Guns and Moses, his book, Let My People Laugh. I'm AJ Rice. This is Dangerous Laughter. We will be right back.
In today's breaking news, The Curse of the Bearded Lady by AJ Rice has already hit #1 on Amazon new releases, and it is only on pre-sale.
You should be women, and yet your beards forbid me to interpret that you are so. Someone once said comedy is the art of turning horror into humor. That's the essence of The Curse of the Bearded Lady, laughing in the face of madness before it devours us whole. The Curse of the Bearded Lady!
And now, please enjoy another elegant celebrity endorsement of Dangerous Laughter with AJ Rice.
Hey, how's it going? This is John Gruden, the old coach. Just getting started here. It's an early morning in Las Vegas. Right now, the streets are quiet out there. But last night, they were rocking. They were all talking about AJ Rice. AJ Rice is live. I love this guy, man. This is your moment right now. If you're going to host your own podcast, you got to be a nightmare for the opposing team. And I'm into nightmares. I mean, I want you to live rent-free inside the enemy's head. BYOB. Be your own blocker. Hustle, 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 Rice. Flip right, double X jet, 36 counter naked waglet, 7X quarter. I mean, I want you to be a player, not a spectator, Rice. Let the competition come, Rice. Bring it on. Be the franchise quarterback, Rice. You got a motor, kid. Everybody sees it right now. Hit the gas and run these guys over. And don't forget Spider 2Y banana execution. Congratulations. You've been diagnosed with dangerous laughter. Now get out there and win. Love you, man.
This endorsement has been brought to you by collapsing standards everywhere. And now, back to dangerous laughter.
Stay locked in with the man who slayed the woking dead. This is Dangerous Laughter with AJ Rice on the Publius Media Network.
And we are back on the DL, Dangerous Laughter. I am AJ Rice. Remember, enlightenment begins when authority becomes laughable. Always remember that. We are talking with Sal Litvak, Salvador Litvak, who is Chilean and Jewish. I don't know what was going on there. Somebody was having a good time, I got to tell you. Sal's parents. New book, Let My People Laugh. I've always think about the Seinfeld episode where I forget who it was. Somebody wanted to. They said, "I'm going to."
Bryan Cranston.
Yes, I'm gonna. I'm Jewish for the jokes. I just want to be Jewish for the jokes, right?
I converted for the jokes. That's what he said.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Sometimes you got to do it. I mean, I know people that became Catholic so they could tell Pope jokes. So recently, this summer, the New York Knicks won their first NBA championship in 53 years. Hey, I was rooting for them too. The whole team's filled with Eagles fans and Villanova grads and ex-Sixers. Even Maurice Cheeks, Hall of Famer, sitting on the bench. Love Maurice, Mo Cheeks, Dr. J's teammate there in '83. And I love this team. I loved it. I've loved them for a long time, and I am a Sixers fan, and they dispatched us with 4 brooms. They did it handily. And the Sixers probably deserved it with the way they were playing. Now, Jerry Seinfeld, Larry David, many comedians, New York personalities, they're all going to these games. So after the show-stopping thriller of, I think, the Game 4, Jerry's walking out of Madison Square Garden. He's got to come out the way everybody else comes out and get through the security perimeter or whatever. And there's some kooky, wacky, Israel-hating streamer, I don't even know who this person was, standing out there with a camera, and he wants to get in Jerry's face, right? And he tries to stop him, and he tries to get Jerry Seinfeld to say something. Chris, let's play that video.
Oh, Jerry Seinfeld.
What up, Seinfeld? What up? Can we get a free Palestine? Can we get a free Palestine? Come on, give us one free Palestine.
It doesn't exist.
Sal, it doesn't exist. Jerry's just ready. He's ready for him.
He's ready.
I mean,
he's been taking it for a while. It's great.
The left went nuts. The kooks and even some of the right, they went nuts. But he's quick on his feet. That dude didn't know what was going to happen. And, Jerry's been doing this. Jerry was doing shows in Australia at one point, and he had a bunch of hecklers, and he dunked on them. Jerry's not, Mr. Rabbi, but he is he's Jewish.
He's been to Israel. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's been to Israel, done the whole thing, right? But he's also he's not going to buy into this kooky narrative that the entertainment industry is selling that we were just talking about. Am I right?
Well, because the entertainment industry is totally enslaved to the concept of the oppression Olympics, right? And so they will reduce any conflict around the world to white people oppressing brown people. And so they run the Israel situation through that lens as well. And it doesn't apply. It makes no sense there. The only thing you have to do to understand the Israel situation is look at a map. You know, like all these people who are objecting, who don't know what river and what sea they're chanting about, they've never looked at a map. Because when you look at a map, Israel's like this tiny dot that's surrounded by so much Arab lands, which are like curvature of the earth size. And to say that there's no room for the Arab, Palestinian population, they just need to move like 5 miles away. I mean, you know, when they make bus lines and train lines in America, they move people 20, 30 miles. So what? Okay, now you have to commute. You have to move your house. So what? And if these people moved a few miles away, there would be no conflict. But they've got, you know, the media and the communist infrastructure around the world supporting them and running everything through. Well, if Israel's winning, it must be white people oppressing brown people. And it's just total BS.
That's right. And look, you know, Israel, I call it the canary in the mine shaft for Western civilization. I mean, they're like a matchbox sitting on, you know, a football field compared to their surrounding enemies. And look, the Sunni Arabs seem to be coming along. There's been some peace agreements, you know, that have happened, Abraham Accords. Some people have posited that Saudi Arabia was ready to do a deal with Israel, and that's why October 7th happened, to prevent that from happening. And, you know, because they can't have it. Bad for business. You know, but it's amazing to me. Look, I'm a geriatric millennial. You know, I grew up with parents that were boomers, grandparents that fought in World War II. They were there. My one grandfather was in the Navy, and the other one was in Bradley's 1st Army Division, the Irish one, although both of them were Irish. And it's an amazing thing because I should know better what I'm about to say. But to me, some of the stuff that I've seen since October 7th, and I'm not Jewish, I'm an Irish Catholic wise ass from Philadelphia. But I grew up with the blacks and the Italians and the Jews. We played basketball. We talked shit. That's what we did.
Yeah, we all did.
Right. It's not some alien race to me. Okay. You know, the people falling off the turnip truck, I mean, they scare me more. I will tell you that I never thought, and I should know better because I know history going back to the Pharaoh. I never thought that we would see the type of behavior in the streets going after not just Israel but Jews in general. But I guess I should know better because this is like the oldest bigotry in the book. It spins up every couple decades, every couple centuries. For whatever reason, people want to they want to project all of their own problems on this tiny group of people who, you know, as far as I'm concerned, make the world a better place with some humor. You know, and look, there are people that you quote Seinfeld to them, you quote Curb Your Enthusiasm, you quote Mel or Woody or whoever. They don't watch it. They didn't watch it. They don't get it. It's too New York. It's too Jewish, whether it's Seinfeld or whatever. They don't have it. It's not there. The way they were raised, it's not there. And that's fine. Maybe they like Jeff Foxworthy or Larry the Cable Guy, or whatever the hell they like. Right?
Or How I Met Your Mother. That's what the young people seem to like.
Sure. But, I mean, I never thought, Sal, that we would get to this point where we were just sort of reliving this same type of anti-Semitic craziness. And I guess we are, right?
It goes back, AJ, it goes back to the Bible, right? Genesis 12:3, God says, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. Why did God need to say that? And why did he say it like for all time? You know, so he's talking about the Jews way back in the first book of the Bible. You know, so you mentioned also I have this platform, Accidental Talmudist. I have 1 million followers on Facebook, a few 100,000 more on Instagram. I share what's beautiful in the tradition, including the Jewish jokes and more spiritual teachings. My first joke that went viral was probably like 6-7 years ago. And, you know, it's an old silly joke about an anti-Semite who's drinking in a bar, and he notices a Jew sitting nearby. And he says, bartender, a drink for everybody in the place. Everybody except him. And he looks over at the Jew to see how he's taking it. And the Jew just smiles back. And that makes the anti-Semite mad. So he says, bartender, a drink for everybody, top shelf, your finest, premium, for everybody except the Jew. And he looks over to see if he's pissed off the Jew. And the Jew just smiles back and nods. Anti-Semite can't believe it. He says to the bartender, is that Jew just stupid or pretending to be? And the bartender says, oh, no, sir. He's the owner.
Exactly.
So that's a fun little joke, right? Now, when I told that, you know, put on my Instagram, TikTok 6-7 years ago, hundreds of thousands of views, everybody's entertained. I just shared it last week, and it did go viral again, like maybe 600,000 views. But this time, there's this mix of the kind of comments I usually get, hilarious, I love it, made my day, so funny, and the Jew haters who come out and say, oh yeah, well there you go, the Jews own everything. It just shows the Jews own everything. And the poor anti-Semite got ripped off. You think that's funny? I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You're gonna be offended by that joke? And you're going to accuse us of exploiting society because we work hard and own small businesses like a bar? That's what offends you?
Right.
You know? Like these people, and look, it's always the accusation confession, right? They talk about the victim card.
Right.
Somebody who blames the Jews for all their problems, that's the victim card, and that victim card is denied.
Sure. Look, we're politically incorrect here. I mean, we don't believe all civilizations are created equal. We don't believe all cultures are created equal. That's why some civilizations go away. They don't make it. But there are some Western civilization, and then inside of Western civilization, there are, pillars of that civilization. You can say to yourself, well, I mean, Italians own things, the Irish own things, Jews own things. People, I guess, are mad at the things that Jewish people own. But I ask, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Who would you rather own these things? Someone from a dump like Haiti or a dump like Uganda? We do have a Ugandan mayor in New York, in New York City now. How's that turning out? How's it turning out? Right? I mean, look, let's be honest here. There's certain people you don't want to see when you walk in certain places. How many videos of 18-wheelers have we seen recently where the driver is cooking tiki marsala on the dashboard right before he flips the 18-wheeler off the fucking overpass? I mean, look, part of the problem with stereotypes is they're real. That's how we get them. They're real. But, you have to sort of weed through it. I mean, there's jokes about everyone. And that's why I did open the show with the equal distribution of mockery. I have just as many jokes about Jews as I do about drunk Irish people, as I do about Italians playing bocce ball, as I do about, Mutt and Jeff going hunting with Elmer Fudd in the woods. I have plenty of those things. And if we didn't take everything so freaking personally, we would all get along better.
Yeah. I mean, listen, what you just said, if we're not going to be politically correct, if you hear a guy say, God bless, so you give him a nice smile. You hear a guy say, Baruch Hashem, which is God bless, blessed is God in Hebrew. You smile. Sure. You hear a guy say, Allahu Akbar, you're running. Get out of that building immediately.
That's right. Exactly. That actually means something. So speaking of this, and speaking of, you being hunted, and when people are trying to do reviews of your movies or your books, Jerry is taking heat all over the place. What's funny is when you see there's two types of posts about Jerry Seinfeld. There's the people that loved what they saw, and then there's the people going, see, this proves that Israel is, engineering a genocide of the Philistines or whatever they're called there. So there's this clean comic Italian guy similar to Jerry, doesn't really, work blue. His name is Nate Bargatze. Okay.
Oh, hilarious! Yeah.
Different generation. I think he's like a Gen X millennial guy. So he was recently at the UFC fight at the White House, and he's getting heat. He's getting heat for posing with pictures. He's getting heat for just being there. So this is where we're at. I mean, where the hell was he supposed to be? Was he supposed to be in New York City singing with Bette Midler, right? On stage with, Peter Fonda's dopey sister? Where? I mean, really? That's where he's supposed to be with De Niro? So he goes to this thing because he's a fan. He's a fan. And he's getting shit about it. It's like, I have seen you 4 times and now I will never see you again. You ought to see some of these stupid posts from these, snowflakes. I mean, it just goes on and on. I got a whole list of them here. Another one bites the dust. Bye, Nate. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Nate's funny. I've never clicked on his stuff. I'm going to go click on it now. Because I'm a curse word guy, right? I'm from Philly. I'm a curse word guy. So, Shane Gillis and all, Ricky Gervais, they're my guys. Norm was my guy. May he rest in heaven. We know Norm's in heaven. We know he's up there talking to OJ as we speak. So,
smoked the joint with Norm Macdonald.
Oh.
Funniest guy.
Oh.
Saying hilarious in a conversation. Hilarious. Yeah. Not only
Absolutely.
but in the conversation, he was amazing.
So something else happened at this UFC event. Chris, get this ready. Now look, the thing about dangerous laughter is that there's really no rules. There isn't, because the second Caesar comes after you, the second a president of the United States comes after you, the second the King of France or Elizabeth I comes after you, like she did to Ben Jonson, the playwright, the second that happens, that's when dangerous laughter is peak. So we had a situation where one of the fighters, after he won, and I love the look on Joe Rogan's face here, decided to send a message, and I'm going to play this message, send a message to America about the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. Let's hit it.
Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America? Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Hogan.
Rogan had to. Rogan's wearing that little short tie. Looks like a little clip-on tie.
Oh, man.
I mean, look, we have told our fair share of, meaty back, Michael Obama jokes here on the program. I think it's funny. I think it's fair game. I think the patron, the queen of dangerous laughter, may she rest in Jewish heaven. I don't know if Jews believe in heaven, but Joan. No, I'm joking. Joan Rivers warned us all.
Yep.
Joan warned us all years ago that Michelle Obama might not be a female, although I think she probably is. Please subscribe to this.
Yes, and everybody knows it.
No one knows. In the old days, she could go on Howard when Howard still had some brain cells left before all the jabs, and Howard would have done a physical on her, and it would all be, would have sent her in the bathroom with Robin. They would have checked, and this would all be over. All the jokes would be over. But I mean, what do you think about that? That's peak dangerous laughter right there at the UFC fight.
It's like he trained his whole life to win a UFC fight at the White House for that moment.
just so we can say that. I'm gonna go, because listen, I'm gonna go beat this guy's ass and win. So when I do, I can yell this. I can yell this on the air. I mean, look, you got to give it to him. I mean, he got it out on the air. It is now everywhere, and obviously, the same people who tell America that the bearded lady who's behind me here, which is my book, that my third book, which comes out this summer, The Curse of the Bearded Lady. The same people that told us that the bearded lady should be treated like any other person, told the bearded lady to get in the pool with Riley Gaines, that there's, Democrats lift up their skirt and there's 72 genders under there. The same people are somehow outraged that someone called Michelle Obama the bearded lady. I mean, what do you think of the hypocrisy here? Sal, how about the hypocrisy here?
Yeah, why is that an insult? Exactly. According to their standards, why is that an insult?
That's right. That's right. They should embrace it. They should embrace it. I mean, this is their thing, right? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why this show is unfit for polite company. Sal, though, Sal's a gentleman. Sal, look, you've got a movie that everyone needs to go see.
Guns and Moses.
Guns and Moses. You've got an all-star cast. Go to Amazon and get it. While you're there, you can get Let My People Laugh. I mean, this book is amazing. You don't have to look. This is not one of these things you have to read cover to cover. You can jump around. I mean, and he even Sal sort of outlines that in the introduction. You know, if you have to give a toast, if you have to, if you're at a wedding, you got to give a toast. You got to go to a fundraiser. You go to a golf course, and look.
And you need a joke. I got the list.
If you need a joke, it's here. But it's goy friendly. It's goy friendly, and as a super goy, as a super gentile ninja here, you can absolutely steal these jokes as a Gentile. You can do it, right? It's like what Woody Allen used to say: if you're going to steal from the best, right? That's what you can do here.
And Mark Twain said, "Amateurs borrow jokes, professionals steal."
Steal, exactly. And I'll leave it at that. Sal, look, brother, full disclosure, we work with Sal. We love him. We help promote some of these things. But this has been a great conversation. This has been pure dangerous laughter today, Sal. I just want to thank you for coming on. God bless you. Buy the book. Go buy and rent the movie. Right, Sal? And give out your website for the Talmudist.
accidentaltalmudist.org or Accidental Talmudist on Facebook or Instagram. We'd love to see you there. And AJ, thanks for having me. This show's hilarious. I think it's going to be the biggest podcast in America, and it should happen as soon as possible because the audience needs you. You are needed in America right now.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. I knew there was a reason you and I got along. I mean, look, always remember there's no substitute for perfectly timed derision.
Oh, man.
And look, you can dunk on people without being totally mean. Sal's not mean. I'm mean because I'm an Eagles fan. Look, ladies and gentlemen, Sal Litvak, look him up. Find him on social media. Guns and Moses, not Guns and Roses. I am AJ Rice. We will catch you on the flip side.